Hurricane Matthew is history. I think at the end of the hurricane season, we'll see the name Matthew retired. There were over 1,000 casualties, most of those in Haiti, and quite a bit of damage through the Caribbean and parts of the southeastern United States. Here's a look at the storm as it rolled over Haiti and then over parts of eastern Cuba, eventually over the Bahamas. At one point, it looked like it could actually make landfall in the very populated area of southeast Florida. It did stay offshore of Florida. At one point, though, it was only about 20 miles offshore of Jacksonville Beach. The first landfall it made in the United States was actually about 40 miles southeast of Charleston, South Carolina, and then it continued to move to the north and weaken, but still spread lots of heavy rain into the Carolinas. The National Hurricane Center, got to give them kudos for a job well done and lots of hard work as well. Here's a look at the 41 different forecasts that they issued throughout the duration of the storm from September 30th roughly through about October 6th. And you can see how their predictions did change a bit through time, but for the most part, they did a pretty good job forecasting that. That forecasted loop there at the end was a little strange, but fortunately that ended up not happening. Here's a satellite image of this historic storm. In fact, it's the farthest south a Category 5 hurricane has ever been. It's only the 5th Category 5 hurricane we've ever had in October. The last time we had a Cat 5 in the Atlantic was actually with Felix back in 2007. This is also the longest lived hurricane of the 2016 hurricane season. As the storm moved into Haiti, it was a very strong hurricane. Here's a look at that satellite imagery. It was a Cat 4 hurricane. Haiti hasn't seen a Cat 4 since Hurricane Cleo in 1964. A ton of damage in Haiti, 10-foot storm surge, lots of heavy rain and wind. Cholera outbreak is going to be a continued possible indirect impact of the storm. Here's a look in eastern Cuba as the storm brushed parts of eastern Cuba. A good deal of damage on the very eastern tip, but it could have been worse had it moved, of course, over the western tip of Cuba. And then rolling over the Bahamas, eventually heading for Florida. Here's a view of St. Augustine. You can see the rough surf there. As Governor Scott said, we're blessed that the hurricane did not make a direct landfall in Florida. It could have been much worse. There's a picture from Jacksonville showing the storm surge. Eventually, it made a very close call in parts of Georgia. That's Fort Pulaski. Check out the water surrounding that historic fort. Also, Savannah did manage to avoid some of the worst effects, but still lots of flooding and damage. That's one of those historical live oak trees on a house near Savannah. As it moved towards South Carolina, Matthew actually made landfall 40 miles away from Charleston. There was massive flooding and downed trees. It knocked out power to nearly 1 million people. So storm surge was very bad in the Charleston area. So a lot of homes and businesses will have to use the hopefully nice weather we have for a while to recover from the storm. Check this out. Actually a picture of cannonballs from the Civil War that are now visible on the beach near Charleston, Folly Beach in fact. Here's a picture from North Carolina. They had some intense, very heavy rain. In fact, nearly 20 inches of rain fell near Tar Heel, North Carolina. A lot of rescues were needed. In fact, nearly 1,000 folks had to be rescued from the flooding waters. Check out the max wind gust here. Cape Canaveral had a wind gust of 107 miles per hour. Fortunately, damage was very minor in parts of the NASA Kennedy Space Center. Check this out. The vehicle assembly plant, no damage at all from 100 mile per hour winds. A very well-built building. Here's a look at the GFS model run. Each one of these runs is a different day from September 30th through October 6th. And you can see that the GFS model, the American model, was very consistent from run to run. So really got to give the American model props here for forecasting the storm very accurately. They did a great job with a bit of a wobble there to the west at the end, which actually somewhat ended up coming true, but fortunately the storm did stay just offshore Florida a bit. Here's the European computer model. It's really been the model of choice since Hurricane Sandy, but I got to say it didn't handle this storm quite as well. I got to give the winning forecast to the GFS model, again the American model, as it had the better track accuracy and it was more consistent as well. Okay, finally, I wanted to give a big heartfelt thanks to all the first responders, the National Guard, the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, and all the others that helped out before, during, and now after the storm. Well, that's a wrap on Hurricane Matthew. Let's pray for those folks that were impacted by the storm and also hope that we finish off the hurricane season on a quiet note.